program on security matters and geopolitics. Once again, we thank all our viewers who have kept in touch with us all these years. So viewers, on the world map, when you looked at some of the violence-infused contours, you must have conjured up images of many of the fast currents and cross currents of the current security environment. And you have obviously seen the rapid pace with which war clouds show up and the equally fast speed with which deterrence is built. So, isn't the modern security environment much about speed with which nation states act to safeguard either real or imaginary security interests? Yes, in fact, since ancient times, whether in the case of deft military maneuvers or quick diplomatic overtures, the quotient of sheer speed remains a constant determinant. So you have guessed it right. Our lead topic for you in this edition of War and Peace is military speed. Our guests today in this edition are Air Marshal Vinod Patni, former Vice Chief of Air Force, who was also Director General of the Center for Air Power Studies. He has joined us from Gurugram. And eminent scientist Dr. Y.S. Rajan, who has co-authored several books with Dr. Abdul Kalam. He has joined us from Bengaluru. So, our lead topic for you in this edition of War and Peace, the quotient of speed in the modern security environment. When Tejas, India's indigenous state-of-the-art light combat aircraft, was first being developed, a design that would sustain high supersonic speeds was obviously factored in. But by the time this naval variant of Tejas was tested, it not only demonstrated supersonic speed, but also its elite club ability to arrest speed in double quick time at the time of landing. Speed and speed control is a key in the modern security environment. For instance, if a fighter jet moves too far ahead by way of faster speeds, it can miss its target. All ground forces specialize in speedy maneuvers to take on the flying bombers. Speed has constantly remained a determinant since ancient times, when fast-moving horses provided a vital cutting edge in tactical battle areas. In modern times, fighter jets acquire force multipliers with still faster missiles. Similar is the case with the Navy and the land forces. Management of speed in myriad fields impact modern battle zones. At deep sea, warships have to quickly analyze volumes of information that flow in at a phenomenal speed. So is the case with the defense manufacturing sectors that have to keep an efficient supply chain alive always, sooner than later, and perpetually. Let's begin with Air Marshal Vinod Patni, who has joined us from Gurugram. Air Marshal Patni, what, according to you, is the essence of speed in the modern security environment?
Speed is all-pervasive. It is the turning point in most decision-making as well as in the actual tactical battle area. Actually, the concept of speed was put across rather well by Colonel John Boyd of the United States Air Force when he came out with the OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, act. It became a catchy phrase, OODA loop. And then since then, it has been taken and used over and over again. Nowadays, they say it also has importance in the financial world and various other things. But if you take each one of these, observation, orientation, decision making, and the action, each one of them have got a speed quotient of their own. Whether it is the border area, whether it is well before that, speed is of the essence. You will recall that for many years, the armed forces used to discuss contingency planning. In fact, contingency planning became a byword of our planning system, and the reason was the same, which is that when it comes to the push, at that time, suppose we already had plans afoot for which training had been done, the business of getting into the system became that much faster, that much more effective, that much more efficient. Hence, speed is always at a problem, always at a quotient, and the faster you are, the better it is.
Air Marshal Patni, what has changed over the years in terms of speed?
The basic principles have not altered. All that has altered is the facilities that are available and how we utilize those facilities. Even earlier, without the use of UAVs, without the use of satellites, we still needed to observe, and observation will always remain a factor of importance. Once you observe, then you take a look as to what the system is and decide what should be the action. It is this decision making that has got to be much faster at all levels. And to make the decision making that much faster, we have what I mentioned earlier, contingency plans.
How would you like to qualify speed in strategic and tactical terms?
As I mentioned, in strategic terms or tactical terms, speed will always be of great import. In the strategic terms, for example, there are 101 different and more, 101 different situations that could arise. How do we prepare for each one of these? It's rather difficult, and computerization can help to a certain extent, but we must know as to how to use data processing to advantage.
Now, let's go over to Dr. Y.S. Rajan, who has joined us from Bangalore. Dr. Y.S. Rajan, how do you think this quotient of speed has evolved over hundreds of years?
I will even go to lakhs of years. See, this question of geopolitics, war, peace, defense, all these things existed when we were tribes also. When we were tribes also, one tribe will be there, another tribe will be there. They look for, they move for food, they move for security. Some places they have got a difficult wild animals, so they have to take care of that. That they may have some other very hostile tribals, sometimes friendly tribals. All this they were also moving, but that will be in a period of few decades. Evolved over centuries, it comes. Even there, that those who do centuries old slow practice get beaten up by those who are 100 years. Say Genghis Khan came in horses when the fellows were coming on in other elephants and things like that. He had a very beautiful technology, that polo business. They will go fast and then use that and then tuck, they will take it out, the tents they were taking out. So I am giving one example. So there the speed comes. When the ships started going, British got a power, geopolitical power they got. Plane, it was much, much faster. The telegraphy, which was there, it was a great force multiplier for the British to rule over. Morse code, etc., etc. Now, I will fast forward. In 1945, another one devastating thing came, that is a nuclear one, but the nuclear one will be dead if it cannot be released fast. Missiles came. Then as far as the other thing is what the enemy is doing, etc., you need to go fast. You can't be sending only spies and then we see all the James Bond movies and all. It is not enough. It is backed up by a lot of surveillance data, which used to be once in a while type of thing. We were also involved. At my time when it was there, we were involved, but it was a little data. Now people can see into 0.1. India is also has those capabilities, but it has to come in a lot of data. So the ordinary computers are not enough. But all that you can't dump it on an operational one. You have to take out what is important, put it there. And then those who are in the operations, they should be able to move. And then when they move, their position, andaj idhar hai to nahi chalega. They have to know precise location, GPS. So the rate at which everybody is using is a large amount of data.
And what of information and the speed of bandwidth, in fact?
Speed means megabytes. In those days, kilobytes was okay. When the Apollo moon landed, a small handheld computers type of thing was doing, but no longer. Now, defense forces will require 100 megabyte data at the operational level. Overall, it will become terabytes. Terabytes. That is what it is, and then to handle them, therefore, you need some elements of it, artificial intelligence. Everything cannot be robotized, but some of it, routine, it will see it. Ye to hai, theek hai, then it builds on it. So these are necessary. Also, not enough of information, decision making also has to be equally fast. You can't say itna data aa gaya, I am sitting and then I am thinking. You have to take fast. That means you have to have models of geopolitics, you have to have models of the current situation, and then be able to take those decisions.
Dr. Rajan, you have worked closely with both Vikram Sarabhai and Dr. Abdul Kalam. What is the essence of speed according to you?
See, I also worked with Professor Dhawan and Brahm Prakash along with Vikram Sarabhai. So they are another very great people. So actually, in the current environment, if you see, the great institutions that were built, Vikram Sarabhai, Dhawan, Brahm Prakash, then Kalam, Govarikar, there are some people who was taken by Vikram Sarabhai, continued with Professor Dhawan for 12 long years to stabilize. What it shows is India can master the most complex technologies and do it on a commercial scale, not just as a one or two, commercial production scale required, and be globally competitive in terms of technology performance. Even though there were times where some critical technologies were denied to India, we were not deterred by it.
What is that special value of speed in all this?
See, speed is something ISRO has done far better than most organizations. Sarabhai, he has laid down in 67 itself. He said that in those days, 67 to 70 period, some very brilliant speeches, because it is related to speed. That's why I am telling it. He says that we have come to accept the public sector projects, units, in those days it was that way, units completing things in 7 to 8 years, many R&D projects 8 to 10 years. This is not on. This cannot the way to do. He said some most factories, especially let's say Coats Electronics, in those days type of thing, should come up and going in 2 years, and similarly research and development projects should be in 3 to 4 years. So basically he was, in fact he has said, if we don't do that, we cannot swim in the ocean of the fast accelerating change. Even in 67 he said.
Earlier, we had discussed some other areas too that had done well in terms of speed.
I would say India's greatest achievement in speed comes from C. Subramaniam, whom we often forget, the Green Revolution. In fact, one should read the times of records. The whole parliament, everybody was against. But still he said it has to go, he and Shivaraman. Later, they took the help of M.S. Swaminathan to make the scientists, others also. But there were some scientists whom he had, Venkatachalam, etc. So they got it, he got it through, did it. Again, the same C. Subramaniam got the best of the steel technologies. This Green Revolution in 2 to 3 years, it made a country self-sufficient and it spread. Then the same way Rourkela was the best technology which was just coming, was set up. It was the world's best steel. Then similarly a couple of things are there in the private sector. There are, as you said, that magnetite, there are some items similarly. So while I laud some of the things which are being done, we need to make the whole supply chain completely, I am not making completely self-sufficient, but India should be strong. That was the desire of Sarabhai, Dhawan, Brahm Prakash, Govarikar, Muttunayagam, Kalam, many others. Kalam endeavored for it. He managed to get it that into the defense system. Again, I would say it was not the fastest in which he would have liked it or the forces would have liked it. There were so many other factors which come, which I will not be able to explain in detail in a small one. What happens is, as Sarabhai has beautifully explained, the whole governmental system has been made no mistake done. In fact, Dr. Kalam often used to say something, if nothing is done, no mistake will be done. So that is an attitude many people start taking. So if you want to unleash their energies and intellect and everything, we have to make sure that those who do the developmental task doesn't work on no mistake, no mistake, no mistake. Then the speed will go up.
What would you like to say about the value of the quotient of speed in the armed forces of India, Dr. Y.S. Rajan?
Our forces, Navy, Army, Air Force, etc., at operation level, at the general level, top level, planning level, to the operation at the working level, they are able to make use of whatever best they have. The same thing with Air Force.
You mean they are able to make use of military hardware with great speed?
Great speed even with equipment which are not having that capability of speed. That's what I am telling. Especially in the fast moving things, in geopolitics, in geocommerce, these things, etc. You want to export, a deal comes, you should be able to clinch it. Instead, you go through some 26 approvals, you are finished. Then you don't get your promised export subsidy in time. Then if it were a government organization, they have to come back, sir, this is the thing which is there. By the time you say, sir, things have gone. So these are the type of systems also we need to keep if we want to do. So that is what the new era is.
Air Marshal Vinod Patne, Dr. Y.S. Rajan says speed of bandwidth is an important factor in the security environment. What would you like to add as a military strategist?
Always. You can see the difference in the bandwidth that was utilized between, say, the first Gulf War and the second. More and more people today want a higher and higher bandwidth because it facilitates the movement of images, the business of getting your images from one part of the country to the other, and so many other of these issues. Bandwidth will always be important. With bandwidth, we get into the arena of higher and higher frequencies. And the higher the frequencies, the footprint area becomes that much lower. So we have to have different systems in place. There is nothing known as an unsullied advantage. There will always, with every advantage, there is some little disadvantage that comes up. And strategy demands that we play with these little limitations and don't let it override the great importance of improvements in technology that we are now seeing.
You're watching War and Peace, your go-to program on security matters and geopolitics. We will take a break now, after which Dr. Y.S. Rajan in Bangalore and Air Marshal Vinod Patne in Gurugram will give us more insights into the quotient of speed in the modern security environment.
Informative, incisive, intensive. Get your daily dose of news and analysis in English News Night every weekday at 9 p.m. on DD India. Channel number 620 on Tata Sky, 199 on Dish TV, 150 on Airtel, 28 on UCN and 395 on Videocon D2H.
Welcome back. You're watching War and Peace, your go-to program on security and geopolitics. Our guests today are eminent scientist Dr. Y.S. Rajan, who has joined us from Bangalore, and well-known military strategist Air Marshal Vinod Patne, who has joined us from Gurugram. Now, Air Marshal Vinod Patne in Gurugram, what for you are some of the enduring images in terms of military speed in living memory?
I can say this, that over here today, for example, particularly talking about the Air Force, in case from a peacetime situation, we have to go into ops. Our planning has been done in such a way that we can go and hit the target in a matter of very, very few hours, 3 hours, 2.5 hours, that sort of figure. Now, how have we managed this speed? By planning for it, by practicing for it, by recognizing the importance and our ability to do so. There have been many, many cases like this, where we were suddenly asked to go and take action immediately. We could do so. Let's take speed as another factor. There are occasions when you are out going on for a particular designated target, but suddenly there has been a change or a requirement issue which suggests that you should now be attacking something else. You need that speed, which includes the speed of mind, the resilience in your mind to be able to transfer your attention from one target to another.
Earlier, you had spoken about the importance of getting into the decision circle of the adversary with speed. Is it still that relevant?
You know, the concept of the OODA loop, as I mentioned right in the beginning, the concept was this, that we must operate within the OODA loop of the adversary. In other words, our system of observe, orient, decide, act must be much faster than that of the adversary. That is true. I am now suggesting that this concept of speed is in each one of these 4 separate entities, and each one of them has got to be very much faster to make the entire substance much faster.
And Dr. Y.S. Rajan in Bangalore, do you think speed is the end all and be all of security environment, or do you think sheer speed can at times be counterproductive too?
Not always speed, speed, speed. Sometimes you have to brake also. Okay, now you are a tactical, some place maybe a withdrawal. It is not just always in the front. These are all strategies which the human mind will do. So in aerodynamics language, they always call lift and drag. If an aircraft has to have to go up and then be very fast, lift has to be more. Drag pulls it down. If both of them don't balance, if the drag is more, it will be unnecessarily going slow. It can't maneuver. If lift is high, more than what is required for the drag, it will be unstable. And sometimes, I should also say with respect to technology, it's not necessary, a new model has come, change it. You don't have to.
Air Marshal Vinod Patni, sometimes do you think speed is not enough? For instance, the obsolescent MiG-21 BIS fighter jet is still faster than most of the modern fighter jets in the world.
Just because an aircraft can fly that much faster doesn't mean it will always score over somebody who may be a little slower. No, no. That concept of speed has got to be married with technological capability, and that is what I have been saying all the line. MiG-21 BIS, very fine aircraft. It can deal with all aircraft in its class, but can it match modern day aeroplanes? A little difficult, even though the pilot in the cockpit will always be, and his capability will always be at a premium.
Do you think sometimes lack of speed or inertia is useful too?
No. What you are trying to suggest is that will it confuse the adversary because we haven't taken any action and he is wondering why? That he should have planned in his own, part of his contingency planning. I don't think so. I think over here, if we do not take action, that action should also be a predetermined system. In other words, under these circumstances, till such a time, we will stay put. I understand that. But staying put by itself as an advantage, I do not understand.
What would you like to say about the speed with which military hardware has to be acquired, Air Marshal?
There is only one answer to this, and that answer is indigenization. If we make things ourselves, then there will be lesser hurdles, and that is something which we must push with the greatest possible effort and the greatest possible emphasis.
What would be your final word on the quotient of speed in the very current security environment, Air Marshal Patni?
The whole system is based on speed. If you take a look at this OODA loop, as I said, it's become fashionable to use it today, But the more you go into it in a deeper sense, you realize that it is a very wise system. Now we have given it a title. We have been following this militarily forever. Every business follows this forever. But now we have given it a title, and because we have given it a title, it becomes easier to discuss it.
And Dr. Y.S. Rajan in Bangalore, how would you like to look at the future?
I hope that India will learn to do things within 2 years. A factory R&D project 2 to 3 years, as Sarabhai has told. We need to grow fast. I hope that it will happen in future, given the push, and then given people like you asking people to do fast, but correctly. I hope that it will happen.
And Air Marshal Patni, how would you like to look at the future?
Always rosy. Always rosy. Optimism is a great thing. Certainly not pessimism. If we are realistic and practical, good. But we should not be ever pessimistic. Optimism is the name of the game.
So, optimism is the name of the game. Well, once again, on an optimistic note, we come to the end of this edition of War and Peace, your go-to program on security. If you wish to write to us, you can send an email to warandpeace2004@hotmail.com. You can also send your letters to War and Peace, Room 513, Tower B, Doordarshan Bhavan, Copernicus Marg, New Delhi 110001. So, thank you, Dr. Y.S. Rajan in Bangalore. Thank you, Air Marshal Vinod Patni in Gurugram.
Thank you.
And thank you all. Bye-bye.